Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is Jamal Arif. I'm part of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure team. As a continuation to our traffic management policy series videos, in this one, we are going to talk about the failover policy and do a demo on the failover policy. Our safe harbor statement. All right, so moving forward. So for demo purposes, here is my lab environment for the demos. So I'll have a couple of web servers which are running in the Ashburn region, and I'll use different traffic management steering policies to steer the traffic based upon the policy that I set up. And I will just try to, so the zone name that I'm using is the oci-demozone.com, and I'll create different labels along with these zone name. And Once I create the traffic management sharing policy, I can have a policy, for instance, a failover policy where my primary is web server 1 and my secondary is web server 2. So when both the servers are running, it would all whenever I want to go to that particular zone, I would always be forwarded to the web server 1, and then I'll do like a failover where my web server comes down. I'll see that how it actually fails over to the web server 2. So I'm logged into my OCI console. From here, I can navigate to the traffic management. So let's go to Add Services and then to Traffic Management Steering Policies. Let me actually show you a couple of my web servers which are running in the Ashburn region. So I have a web server 1 and a web server 2. And the details of web server 1 are inside the details page. So I can see the public IP address, the private IP address for each web server. And similarly, if I go back, I can go to the web server 2 and take a look at the IP address information of web server 2 as well, the public IP information. So I'll just open up the instances in each of the tabs so that I know the address, the public IP addresses that I'm going to use in the A records that I'm going to create. And let's go back to the traffic management. So once you are at the traffic management steering policy, click on create the traffic management, and it gives you the 5 options of what kind of policy type that you want to create. So these are the 5 policies that we went over during in our slides as well. So you have load balancer, failover, geolocation steering, and then ASN and IP prefix steering. Let's start with failover steering. In failover, just provide a generic name for your policy. So let's just say demo. The TTL I'm going to give is 30 seconds. So 30 seconds is the failover time that it's going to take. Over here, I'm defining an answer pool. So for failover priority base, it's always 1. And I'm create a pool for my for my web servers. So my answer pool is, for example, the first answer pool name is web server 1. And I can just name the answer pool as web server 1. I have to create an A record for my web server, and in the answer pool 1, which is web server 1, I can give the IP address of my instance in. Let me just go back to the Ashburn region, and within the Ashburn region, I can go to DNS demo 1, which is my first web server, and I can just take the public IP address from here and paste it in the page over here. I will create another pool, which is my web server 2, and create another record for this one, copy the IP address of my second web server and paste it over here. So I've created 2 different answer pools. Now here I'm going to select the pool priority. So I'm setting up pool 1 as my primary, and I'm setting as pool 2 as my secondary. So if both of the pools are away up, since this is a failover policy, it would always send the traffic to pool 1. Now I can also associate a health check. In the health check, I can provide a name, so I can say health check for my failover policy. provide the interval in seconds, choose the protocol between HTTP or HTTPS, and then some advanced options that what kind of port. So I have it should be on port 80. I'm just providing a basic path, which is my index page, and then I'm using the option, not using the optional parameters over here. On the domain, I'm going to attach a label of failover to the zone that I have. So failover.oci-demozone.net. Now I can go ahead and create the policy. The policy gets created in a minute, and then you can see the details page of the policy. In the details page on the top, it just gives you information that what type of policy it is, what's the TTL, and then how many answer count. It also associates that mentions that what is the attached health check with this policy. In the policy narrative, it tells you that what's the policy priority that you selected when you were creating multiple pools, and what is the priority that you selected. So you can see that you have the answer pool priority where web server 1 has greater priority than the web server 2 pool. And in the policy answer data, you can see the health status of each individual servers or A records that were provided over here. This actually, the answer data over here that is provided is available through the health check. So the health check says that the status of the health check is healthy, and it is based upon the TTL value that you selected when you create the policy. So if any of the if web server goes down, the traffic should be failed over to the web server 2. If web server is 1, then the traffic would always be forwarded to the first web server. You can also, on the left hand side in the resources, you can also take a look at the attached domains. So right now the attached domain is the failover.oci-demozone.net domain that we created. And if there are any unpublished changes that you have made and you have not published them, it would show up in here in the unpublished changes. I've opened up an incognito window, and let's go ahead and go to our zone that is attached to our failover policy. So that is failover.oci-demozone.net. And you can see that this actually reflects to the first this actually resolves to the web server 1 in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure demo page. So if I just do a refresh, every time that I'm doing a refresh, it's always going to the first web server because my web server is up and running, and the priority states that it should always be resolved to the first web server. I will navigate back to my COSIA console. So this was my web server 1, which is currently serving all the traffic. How about if I stop this web server and just trying to mimic a failure on the web server 1, and I'll see that how my failover policy on the traffic management would divert the traffic and now resolve to my web server 2, which is serving my traffic. The instance has stopped now. If I navigate back to my policy, the traffic management policy, I can see that the current health status shows healthy because of the TTL that is set on my failover policy. However, if I go back to my health checks, I can get more detailed information that how my currently my web servers are behaving. So the health check that I created was health check failover policy. I'll go into the health check failover policy. This is the health check that was attached to my failover policy statement. And in the health check history, I should see that through the different vantage points, what is the current status of my web server. So you can see if I scroll down, like maybe a minute ago when I had not made the change, I could see that all of the both my web servers, you can see the different endpoints. Both my endpoints were active, and from different vantage points, the health check was coming as available. But now you can see that in the latest, since the health check that I created was updated, I think after every 30 seconds. I'm seeing that after each 30-second time frame, you can say the timestamp over here. There is a difference from different vantage points that one of my web servers, which was my web server 1, is currently down. So let's go back to the traffic management and see that if the health status is changed in the traffic management policy as well. Since the traffic management policy picks up all the data from the health check, it should reflect back over here as well in the health status that one of the instances is unhealthy. So now let's open up another tab and go to the endpoint again. So if I go to failover oci-demozone.net, I can see that now the traffic is being served from the web server 2, and the traffic is automatically diverted and resolved to a different backend endpoint which is currently active. So that's all from this video. Thank you for joining.